To me, this one feels really, really reminiscent of Fight or Flight from the first season, which is the one where they find the aliens that are being drained of their bodily fluids.
Sure.
Because it's this kind of strange setup situation where they run into a weird thing that isn't really explained by the end of it. I just think that the non-explanation of this episode is a little bit less satisfying than the Flight or Flight one, because in Fight or Flight, I can kind of understand, there's just some alien that's doing some nefarious thing by draining these other aliens. And it's like, I don't need to know what they're doing with it. But the space station here is, if it's doing the purpose that it's built for, I don't really understand why it's doing what it's doing. And if it's doing something nefarious to build itself into a supercomputer, they don't really clarify that the repair thing is just a trick to do that. Like, you never get the impression that the space station is up to anything other than trying to repair ships, and it wants to get better at repairing ships.
Yeah.
So that's my main problem with it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think because I've talked before in the past about this show and compared to Doctor Who. And maybe it's unfair for me to say that I like this one because it was so reminiscent of Doctor Who, but it just felt of that same kind of piece that the kind of story they do a lot on that show, where they find this abandoned or empty space thing that seems to give them everything they could ever want, but then ultimately has some sort of nefarious back into it. And I think I agree with you. I think where it falls off, and is a place where, to my memory anyway, the Doctor Who episodes usually don't, is that they do always give you some sort of explanation as to what's going on. It doesn't have to be the most in-depth thing. Like, I don't need the machine to start reading the backstory of the space station or anything. But I think this one does need a little bit of explanation as to what's going on, because it's just like, given what it's doing, it's too much for it to just be out there. Like Fight or Flight, that ship that they go onto, to the best of my memory, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just a ship. It's got some people on it. It's fucked up. It's weird. And they're like, we got to get out of here. There's no upside to that, if I remember.
Well, you wouldn't. Right? The way I what it sounds like you're saying to me is, like, on a on their like report back to Starfleet, they wouldn't put that ship on a map, and be like, there's an alien ship here that you guys have, like, this thing seems like you should notate that this thing exists out here and that people are going to want to come and look at it.
Like, think of it in larger Star Trek terms. If this space station were a planet, which is a story I feel like they've done at least a few times, where it's like, oh, we went down to this planet and the planet gave us all these things that we wanted, and it turns out, oh no, this civilization is secretly cannibals or some shit. It usually gets some sort of explanation as to what's going on, and it's not usually just, we need to kill all these cannibals and get the fuck out of here. Right. It's usually a little bit more nuanced than that. And I think this is on the same level, because it's this space station that can fix your ship like 1,000 times faster than if you've docked in your own place. It does it for relatively cheap, aside from the fact that they're abducting one of your crew members.
Yep.
And it has all of this technology that you can't even fathom at that point, the replicator and blah, 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 blah. So that's kind of a big deal. And for this thing just to be out there, and they get there, they stay there, and they leave with no information, like not even like a H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness type explanation, where it's like they find some sort of log that gives them the bare bones, or at least some sort of abstract idea of what happened here or why it's here.
Yeah.
It seems like too big of a thing to discover for it just to be, let's blow it up. Because I actually was thinking...
And it also rebuilds itself. So it's going to exist at the end. Yeah.
Right. Which was cool. I like that. That was a cool ending.